Hey guys, and welcome back to the Middle Path Podcast. So this is actually a really interesting episode. So I'm Jewish, and I'm gonna be reacting to a viral clip from Candace Owens. So here we go.
Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know. That is retarded, and we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Well, Ben, when it comes to you and having worked with you, I just know. I just know the tactics that you use to feign popularity in the public. I just know the amount of money that you are willing to spend on advertising to inflate your numbers to make people think that you're popular. So, yeah, I don't have to say we don't know when it comes to you. You are such a joke of a little man. Your jealousy against Tucker, your ability to believe that you can keep manipulating the markets. You know those kids booed you on that stage. The amount of messages I got from Turning Point USA people saying, what is happening? Why is he on this stage? Standing against everything that Charlie believed in. So that's what you're doing. You're standing against everything that Charlie believed in because you weren't his friend. He didn't like you for that very reason. I look at you and I just think you are such a little worm. I could see you right now, probably. What can we get out to her? We're going to sue her into bankruptcy again, right? Sue her for every infraction, every word that I don't like, and every time my feelings are hurt. Because what you really believe in is Baal Berith. That's what your people believe in. You believe that you are contract lords and that people are not allowed to violate contracts or you will ruin them for years. You fire someone and you effectively stalk and harass them for years.
I don't really know what Baal Berith is, but let's keep going.
After. I'm here to let you know that I'm done with it. I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf of the world.
Okay, that's actually really funny.
I know you're going to get applauded by Konstantin Kisin and Andrew Christ is King Clavin and all of the people, the men who have to keep applauding what you do like you're a 4-year-old to make you feel good. But the rest of the world can't stand you. You're obnoxious. You have absolutely no values that exist outside of the Talmud. You describe yourself as a Talmudic Jew. And I've learned what's in that Talmud, and I encourage other people at home to learn what is in that Talmud so that you know what Ben thinks of you, because he doesn't just hate me, he hates you too, white men. He hates all black people, okay? If he's following the rules of the Talmud, I mean, when I say hates, they think that we're animals, that they have a right to own us, that they have a right to make us worship them, that they have a right to lie to us, that they have a right to sue us and take everything that we have, that they have a right to deceive us, that they have a right to treat Charlie the way that he treated Charlie while he was alive, only to then try to defraud the population into thinking that he is somehow a part of his legacy, that he somehow cared about Charlie Kirk and cares to protect the people that are working at Turning Point USA. Goodbye.
So I want to talk about the comments she made regarding the Talmud. Talmudic Jew. So I'm an Orthodox Jew, and I pretty much an expert in the Talmud, and we call it the Gemara. We don't call it Talmud. I mean, you can call it Talmud. The most people use the term Gemara. So, this, I'm going to tell you what she said is true, what she said is false. What she said that's true is that, we do, in the Talmud, in the Gemara, it does say, that you are allowed to own a slave. Now, this was during a time when slavery was rampant. And it does say that you are allowed to acquire a slave. True. It does say you're allowed to sell a slave. It gives many rules for the way you have to treat slaves. There's a lot of things that you can do. If you abuse your slave, he goes free. But it is true that the Gemara views slaves as property. That can be inherited. And it does compare it to land. So that is true. Rules of the way you have to treat the slaves. Now, I think for some context, this is during a time when slavery was all over the place. But the truth is, yeah, I mean, I think that Jews had slaves. I think that Christians had slaves. I think Muslims had slaves. I think everybody had slaves. So at that point in time, everybody did have slaves. It is now, it is even true that you're allowed to take a Jewish slave. So that's something she didn't mention, which is true. If let's say there's a Jew who owes you money and he can't pay it, you're allowed to take him as a slave. There are different rules for Jews and for non-Jews, but yeah, so one is called an Eved Kenani, like Canaan is referring to non-Jews, so that's a non-Jewish slave, and then there's Eved Ivri, which is a Jewish slave. So there are two different types of slaves. One is Jewish, one is not, and it is true. So some of what she said is true. You're not allowed to steal from a non-Jew. You're not allowed to. She said you can sue them. You just sue them for all they're worth. I don't know what she's talking about. I think she's just upset at Ben Shapiro. So let's keep going.
Ben, goodbye. The question is, how much more money is Ben Shapiro going to spend to make people think that he's popular? How many more articles is his father going to write under a pen name, Hank Berrien of the Daily Wire, under the pen name Hank Berrien, as he wrote while Ben was at Breitbart, before he turned his back and betrayed them too, because that is his nature. He's one of these belly creatures, sliver on. The question is, how many more weeks and years do we have to keep pretending like Ben Shapiro is relevant? It's an open-ended question. Of course, what followed Ben Shapiro on stage is somebody who Charlie Kirk loved very much and who he fought for to the very end against the Jewish donors who were pressuring him, some of them because Ben Shapiro insisted that they do. Take a listen to what Tucker Carlson had to say when he hit the stage.
The prediction that, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left, that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life. And I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this year, this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point, I would assume good people, but who wanted him to take me off the roster. And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist.
Yeah, so I think Tucker's right. I think that Charlie Kirk was super into debate and into letting people speak their mind. I think Ben Shapiro is, he's wrong for what he's doing. And I think he's wrong for what he's doing. And I think that it's a bad look. And it's not in the spirit of what Charlie would have wanted.
I implore you to wake up to these people who believe that they are contract lords. I challenge Black Americans to wake up to your true history, because your quarrel is not with white men, okay? Wake up to who publishes these books and keeps us warring with one another. Christians versus Christians, right? Christians versus Muslims. Wake up and learn the true history of slavery, because that wasn't exactly a white men sport, okay? Jewish people were the ones that were trading us. Jewish people were in control of the slave trade. They've buried a lot of it, but it's there, and you can find it. I think all of us need to wake up to this because it's making me absolutely sick that he is so bold that he dare sit near Charlie Kirk's chair, that he dare grace that stage when Charlie Kirk knew exactly what Ben Shapiro was and will always be. So again, on your belly, Ben Shapiro. We'll be back.
Okay, so that last clip was actually concerning because nothing she said was true. And let's talk about this. So she said, let's stop being Christian versus Christian, stop doing being Christian versus Muslim, meaning, sounds like what she's saying is that the real enemy is the Jews, right? She's like, don't fight from within. We have to recognize who the real enemy is, which is the Jews. So that's concerning. She has a big audience, and me as a Jewish person, I don't really like to hear that. I think that what she's saying is just false. You think about like slavery in America, right? So Jews did not really start coming to America till like the mass immigration of Jews to America was really after the Holocaust, in the 1940s, after World War II, during World War II. Um, Obviously, there were some Jews in the early 1900s as well as the late 1800s, but before that, not really any Jews. Um, just talk to any Jew you meet in the street. Ask them, where are your grandparents from? Very rarely they will say, oh, they were born in America. Most Jews that are in America today, their grandparents are either from Europe or Middle Eastern countries. So some are from Syria, some are from some are from Germany. There's plenty of different countries where the Jews are from. So they were not really involved in American slavery. And going back before American slavery, Jews were really persecuted throughout throughout history. And I think that it doesn't seem plausible that like we're talking Jews are a very tiny percentage of the world. That Jews were behind the slave trade. Look, do I know for a fact that I'll tell you what I know for a fact. I know for a fact that Jews never used the slave trade as like a means of profession. Maybe they were bankers, maybe they were doctors, depending on the nation that they were in, what they were allowed to do. They were usually not. They were like usually second class citizens in Muslim countries. During the good years, they were second class citizens. During the bad years, they were killed. As well as in Christian countries, similar story. They were persecuted. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Spanish Inquisition, which is when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So I don't think the Jews were really in a position to have slaves and be behind the slave trade at all. So I don't know what she's talking about. I think it's completely fabricated. It's concerning the language with which she's speaking because she's talking as if like in the present. Um, let's just say she was right about the slave trade, right? Let's just say, yeah, Jews were behind the slave trade. Okay. What does that have to do with anything now? Like, okay, white people also, white Americans had slaves, right? That's a fact. Therefore what? So she's saying that Jews are the enemy. That's really what she's saying. It's concerning. I think she's showing her true colors. And that's really all I have to say.